Hi, Cancer. November, Scorpio season reading, water sign. Cards already fell out, so I'm going to leave them out while we get to it. Information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the extended version to this reading, which will also be in the first link below, where you get more insight to the month, more in-depth into the transits, and even more intuitive. That's how we do it. This month for you, all of that is below, by the way. This month for you, wow, is double-sided. There is this kind of innate, intuitive understanding going into the month that you feel that you have, it's like this agreement. Like, you can't really change it, but you've decided to agree to something. There's this agreement to, okay, I understand that I have to go about my life while so much has been changing and everything's going well, but for some reason there's this shift, right? You may not know, we may not ever understand, but there's this shift, and maybe we'll get more into it, right? There's the shift from you being okay and presenting yourself as okay in a situation. And the other side of things where you know there's so much subconsciously going through this a transformation, going through a rebirth, going through this process of letting go. So it sounds like, how is it possible to present all together while you're just letting go of so much? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of humans that do that all the time, but for you, it's just where you find grace. Perhaps it's where you find the ability to, again, have some sort of control over so much of that we cannot. And you're okay with that. For now, I think this month will bring you through more of that subconscious dive. Libra season was a whirlwind. Entering Scorpio season abruptly put the brakes for a lot of us, but yet life is still twirling and we're almost at a standstill, like a lot of traffic or a very real event that has happened in our lives from last month till now, individually, yourself included, where it drastically shifted things. We were talking about control, your axis, your polarity, Capricorn, but also Saturn does go direct shortly into the month on the 10th. I'm getting better at remembering. There's just way too much to remember last month. And now the transits are kind of settling into, and not stationing, but we are settling into the rhythm of the stations. What is happening? You are being guided by control and the lack thereof, self-control, what you realize you need when things change so drastically, especially internally or in your very immediate surroundings. This is also, Saturn is the father figure. So for some of you, you could be, literally saying goodbye to someone that has been a father figure, or your relationship with that person is changing. How you go about communicating with this person is changing. In all of the areas this is changing, whether, and I'm sorry for those of you that if this is a physical death of a person that you relate to in that way, that you're actually related to, or if it could be even a part of your patterning, what you've learned from a father figure, someone who played a very masculine role in your life that has been something that you've held closely. And maybe that's also what you're realizing, that through this change, whether or not physical, or it could be a remembrance of, right? It could be just a anniversary. Not that it's just, but it could be that. And it may put you into this very thoughtful perspective and cause you to want to move with what is changing. We have 2 Sagittarius. This is at the bottom. I'm not going to use it, but Sagittarius is very strong as well. Mercury is in Scorpio right now. But mainly, I think this is about how you choose to put what you're learning into your life, into your skills, into like a set of skills, into what you can draw from at this moment, because you might have to be honest with yourself when you don't have a lot more to draw from right now. That there's with these cards, the devil and the magician as well, they like to exude that they have this power and this control, and yeah, they do to an extent, right? There's always to an extent. And it's understanding that that's what you have to admit. It's not admitting defeat. It's like, okay, I've done everything I can. Also, it's really important not to overpromise and underdeliver right now. If you overpromise and you have the chance to renegotiate or come to an understanding and explain your situation, if it's not working out in your favor, it's okay to be very honest with that, being very clear with your emotions. This month, for some, can be a time of combat. I think for you, it's just really about, again, slowly moving from I'm feeling like I need to control this in order to maintain this, to how you present now, like how you decide to carry that forward and move forward, right? Well, you may not find it easy to at the moment. This may be a time where you need others, or you may need a lot more support, perhaps. And for those of you who do, it's really important that you understand who is there for you, who is extending their hand, and just be careful that if you're anyone, this could happen to anyone, okay? It doesn't make you any less or more than anyone else, Cancer. When we're in vulnerable states and we're not supported in the best way, or if we don't even know how or what that looks like, we can be subjected to that of a predatorial state. Someone who we don't realize is only asking because they know, or they sense, are only attracted to you at this time because they sense that you're in a vulnerable place. So if you're not honest with people up front, and even if you are, they could take advantage. So just be, wary of it. Maybe, ask someone to play a role of like, can you make sure this person's good for me? Like, can you double check if blah, 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 or just confiding in someone could be very important. Someone will tell you, right? Because remember, we also have those people who won't tell, and people who don't look at those things. It's just not it's not for everyone. So that could be like a professional too, if you need to seek professional help and advice. What's interesting about death or about heavy times and in times of change, in times of like existing very obvious dynamics, situations when you can rely on something where there is loyalty, and then there's certain things that need to shift in order to make these things happen. These things that were once easy, we find that there is difficulty at times, and small steps need to be taken. Or if avoided, it usually happens in one huge moment. So you just can't avoid whatever it is that you're going through, or whatever it is that you need to grieve. Because there's a part of you that is, and it's very poetic this month, and you're just going to be like, why? I feel so dramatic. But it's just like that emo kid nature. Maybe that's just where you're at this month. It's okay, obviously. Whether you want to make it okay or not, we're just going to know that it's totally fine. It has you thinking about your future, or has it you thinking about where you're going in your life. It could be literally in your future, for sure. But it has you reconsidering or reconnecting with a plan or plans that you're having or that you haven't had made yet. It's also about there's a part of you that from this is growing out of what was once again comfortable, what was once again reliable, loyal. It's that it's shifting who you are. And it's not a bad way. Hold on, the card fell. Aha. Other card of reassurance that this stems from how we actively make money is a masculine tendency. How we receive it is all depending on us, that it's masculine or feminine. There's a very strong lesson that we talked about in the beginning that is now coming full circle, that you are finding that there's more value to it than you'd realized, that maybe committing to resourcing and thinking and valuing yourself in the way that you found so much assurance and validation in. We don't realize sometimes that what's beautiful about understanding the dynamics between yourself and your parents, or your siblings, or whoever it is that you have surrounded yourself from a young age, is that you learn your dynamic and your role in these positions, whether they are positive or negative. Well, you've had to take on more than you realize. You are coming to terms with why certain things have been so important, why you still find value in these things, that even though there's certain parts of you that are changing, that are wanting to shift, and that are growing from this experience, from this situation, from something that, was very long term. You find yourself reconnecting with yourself in a very intimate way. What 'tis the season, right? And taking these values with you into the next phase of your life and honoring where they came from. Maybe you take a few moments every day, or do a devotion or dedication in some type of way every day to yourself, and to also what supports you. You may be thinking about, if you haven't been in the past, or if you do, but you're really more in thought, maybe even in conversation with a few people, about how this connects to your purpose, how this connects to what continues to drive you. It's also this other layer of how death of any kind brings us right to our spiritual nature, whether we have avoided it or welcomed it. It brings us there, whether with resistance or some different levels and layers of resistance, or ease. And depending on when you realize and how you so choose, that's what brings you and connects you to yourself. It's so very interesting to me how this happens. And to give yourself the grace that you have been since the beginning, and allow yourself the ability to shift, to question, to wonder, to feel, and to express what you need to, or take this time mostly for yourself. In the beginning of the month, you'll feel like, I think I need some space. And towards the end of the month, you'll have, or in the middle, because it always gets, a little heavy in the middle of the month, where you really begin to see how and what it's like to be within the mind in a deep way, in deep thought, and yet remember how alive you are at the same time, and how a whole world can play out in there. So maybe it draws or gives you some creative inspiration as well. And that's something that you can also bring, those very strong core values, those very strong tendencies that you have looked for and have found in a person or a situation. And now you recognize how that can never be lost, regardless if you don't see them physically or are moving away from that situation, regardless of what the death is, that you can still take that with you, of course, but you can implement it in a way that makes more sense for you at this time. And we'll get right into the second part. This is movement Cancer. And I'm sorry for any of those that this does pertain to a physical death. It's important to get the help that you need, family, friends, but also professional if you do need that as well, and assistance in this time. That's all I can really give to you. But just remember to have faith in life and yourself and in this moment every day. I'll see you in the next part and next month.